gentlemen,
A little too much there, Brian.
yes. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to open this regular meeting of the Town Council on this September 22nd with a pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Town Clerk, would you kindly read the roll, please?
Councilor Edwards.
Here.
Councilor Ruda. Present. Councilor Medeiros.
Here.
Councilor Durfee.
Here.
Councilor Boland.
Here.
Councilor Carroll and Councilor Costa are both absent.
And the minutes will record that Mr. Cody and Mrs. Black are in attendance, so we can begin. Approval of consent agenda, Mr. Bolden.
Tonight's consent agenda consists of approval of the regular council meeting minutes September 8, 2008, approval of executive session minutes meeting of September 8, 2008, approval of executive session minutes meeting of June 23, 2008, receipt of minutes from the following boards and commissions: Art Council 2, Cemetery Commission, Conservation Commission, Economic Development, Historic Cemeteries, and Wastewater Management Commission. Correspondence received and filed. Received resolution from Town of Middletown rejecting Rhode Island Global Consumer Compact waiver application pertaining to Medicaid reform. Received from John Moran, Jr. regarding Tiverton Zoning Board. Referred to Town Administrator, Building Zoning Official, and Assistant Solicitor Ruggiero, responding from Building Zoning Clerk. Approval of tax assessor abatements. Denise D. Medeiros, 55 Kevin Drive, requests scheduled public hearing on October 14th for noise variance fundraiser at Bowling Tree Farm, 97 South Lake Road, November 1st, with rain date of November 8th from 6 to 11 p.m.
Are there any changes?
Madam President, I'd like to have items CA2B, CA3A, and CA5 removed, please.
Madam President, I just have one observation in the minutes in correlation with the agenda tonight. Do you want me to speak on that now or wait until?
Why don't we just take them in order? I will approve the consent agenda as it remains and then go to in order. Okay.
If Madam President, if the request is for a problem with the council minutes of September 8th, then that should be removed so that that can be discussed. If it's approved on the council agenda, it can't be changed.
Yeah, I just thought that would be a removal.
Oh, okay.
Okay, at least I interpret it as.
Okay. Is that 1A?
Yes.
No, one, yeah.
A or B?
Okay.
Or both?
Okay, regular.
Motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda.
Second?
All those in favor, raise your right hand, please. Motion carries unanimously. Mr.
Actually,
No, Mr. Ruda.
Okay, Ms. Aruda,
Yeah,
shoot.
in reading the minutes of September 8th, on the next to the last page, where it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th paragraph down, where it says that Councilor Carroll mentioned to continue the next meeting, the reappointment of the administrative officer for the planning board continued from the August 25th. It was seconded and voted 5-2, and it's not on this agenda to be addressed tonight.
Because after that point was when we discussed having the special meeting to do
All the,
all
Okay.
these.
that was the reason.
That's the only reason it's all together, because you were giving out copies of all the applications in order to get, yeah. So I just assume that's all to go at once.
Okay, it was just an observation. Thank you.
I will entertain a motion that they be approved.
So moved.
second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand, please. Motion carries.
Madam President, on item CA2B on the Becasset Hill Cemetery Commission report, on item 2, the treasurer's report, there was a question on the treasurer's report not being accepted because of a lack of proper information and questions from the commission. I just want to have our administrator follow up on that.
He may have already
Yeah, we've already discussed that, and that should not be an issue anymore.
Okay. So there aren't any, there's plenty of information?
Plenty of information.
On item,
You gotta move to accept that.
I'll move to accept that.
The
Thank you.
minutes. The minutes. Okay, all those, is, motion been made and seconded, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Moving on.
From the town of Middletown, the Rhode Island Global Consumer Compact waiver.
Yes.
The town of Middletown has resolved that, have requested that other towns seek an alternative method. They've asked their sister towns to join them in this resolution. And having spoken to Councilor De Palma and heard his point of view on this particular issue, I am also equally moved to follow the town of Middletown's lead and to seek alternative methods as opposed to the Rhode Island Global Consumer Compact. And I would make a motion to that effect.
You know, I also got a call on that, and I have followed it with some interest, just from the Providence Journal. The problem that I have, Jay, is that I would like, on something like that, I would like to hear sort of both sides of that issue. And I don't feel, as one person, competent to vote one way or the other. I know that the congressional delegation has asked, not so much condemned it, but asked for transparency in the negotiations. And, I mean, that's just speaking for myself. I just, we're not in a position to know all the details with regard to it, so
I realize
I have
that. What I've read,
concern.
what I've read also in the Journal tended to make me a little anxious, at the least, on this particular issue.
Could we at least read their resolution out loud so that people would know what we're talking about? Would that be?
Yeah, maybe Jay would like to do that.
Town of Middletown, Town Council Resolution, whereas the Town of Middletown recognized the importance of Medicaid reform and applauds the state in this quest, and whereas the submitted Rhode Island Global Consumer Compact waiver application is risky at best and puts the most vulnerable, the elderly, children, and individuals with disabilities at risk, and whereas the lack of specificity about funding the program in the out years of the 3+ year demonstration will either result in the elimination of the needed optional services or impact taxpayers as already overburdened by cuts or level funding in state aids to cities and towns, and whereas the desired reforms do not require waiver authority and others can be accomplished by a more limited waiver approach. Now therefore is resolved that the Town of Middletown respectfully requests that the submitted application for demonstration not be supported, and it is further resolved that the Town of Middletown respectfully requests an alternative be developed, and it is further resolved that the Town of Middletown respectfully requests that this adopted resolution be forwarded to all the cities and towns in Rhode Island requesting they adopt a similar resolution.
Just following up what Louise just said, I would be more comfortable if we just put this off till the next meeting, so that just to give us some time to get a little more information, because this seems reasonable, but I'd just like to know a little bit more about it.
I'd be glad to change my motion to pull this item off and to address it in our next meeting.
Second?
All those in favor, raise your right hand, please. Motion carries.
And finally, on CA5, this is a request from Denise DiMediris to request a special public hearing for the 14th. I just wanted to, if Ms. DiMediris is here, maybe she could speak to this so we could actually vote and get this on the agenda.
Hi. The fundraiser is for the Gerald Ledoux Foundation. It is going to be a fundraiser at Dave Boland's farm. We're planning on an all-night event from 6 to 11. We have 2 bands scheduled, and and probably a disc jockey in the middle. We have a silent auction. We have hay rides. All proceeds will go to the Tiverton Fire Department for the sole purpose of training a diving team and buying a boat for Tiverton.
I think we voted to hold that, as you can probably tell from our consent agenda, so, but I'll entertain a motion that, from you, Mr. Edwards.
Yeah, I make a motion that we have a, we include this in a special public hearing for October 14th for a noise variance.
Second.
Are we meeting on the 14th?
Yes.
Yes, it's a Tuesday.
And the dates are November 1st with a potential rain date for November 8th, but we're really going to try to avoid that November 8th date unless the weather is very, very bad.
There's all kinds of things going on November 8th. So.
Yeah, well, that's why we're going to...
Okay, all those in favor? Raise your right hand, please. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks.
No.
Yes.
I did.
Okay, the next item is a public hearing as advertised as a show cause hearing for Spar Island Enterprises, DBA Little Bear Lounge, which it was requested by the State Fire Marshal's Office, the Tiverton Fire and Code Enforcement Group. Yes. Hold on, Paul.
Yes, you have to go through this.
Now, do you have counsel here with you tonight?
No, counsel had called this morning and I believe talked to the solicitor. He could not be here tonight.
Madam President, I did receive a phone call from Stephen Litwin about noontime today, indicating that he had a personal matter, so he could not be here today. He also indicated he was not contacted very much in advance just last week on this, but he could not be here today. He asked if it could be continued. I explained to him that this was being brought forth by the State Fire Marshal as well, had been going on for some time, and that I could not provide him with any assurance that we would continue it as a courtesy. But he did provide a written request. I understand there has been certain work done, but the council could not be here, and I did not indicate to him one way or another whether it would be continued. I suggested that if he was concerned about it, that alternate counsel should be provided.
I think it's up to the council to decide whether or not the matter, I'd sort of like to hear from the chief before we...
I think you should definitely hear
yes.
what the situation is, and it may not be a significant issue one way or the other.
Okay.
But
Chief?
Good evening, Madam President. Chief Robert Lloyd, Tiverton Fire Department. I also have Mr. Octavio Vieira from the State Fire Marshal's Office, and one of my fire marshals, Tom Mello, is here this evening. For 2 years now, we have been working to try to bring the Little Bear Lounge into compliance with the state fire code. Originally, it was a dining establishment, has changed now and is primarily functioning as a nightclub establishment, which puts it into a stricter code enforcement with large crowds at night. Some of the concerns in 2 years, we have not been able to get any movement. However, I will tell Madam President that we have been able to, just today, we sent Inspector Vieira went out today from the State Fire Marshals. There has been some change. We do have some contracts for some things that we've been trying to get done for 2 years. So there has been some movement in that regard. We have concerns about the life safety that is in the building. We have concerns about some of the fire hazards that cause a problem for that life safety in that building. Because it is a nightclub, people are taking alcoholic beverages there, and impairs their ability to get in and out of the establishment quickly. We were prepared tonight to bring this forward to you, but if speaking with the State Fire Marshals, the building official and myself, if you'd like to move it for one more week or to the next council meeting, that would be fine. Hopefully we can get a lot more of these issues resolved.
But I do think we need to have a finite time as to when this is going to be taken care of. We have contracts in place, but they do not have an end date on those contracts or a start date on them. So we are concerned about that.
Motion to continue to the next regular council meeting to allow the attorney for the individual to be present.
Second.
And for more items to be done on the punch list, more or less, also?
I would hope so,
I would
Counselor.
hope so, not just for
Yes.
an attorney presence, but hopefully they'll be getting more things done.
Based on the information provided by the fire chief, I think we'll do it, and I think the record should show that we're doing it so they can be represented by counsel.
Represented, and also that more of the punch list is being done. I just don't want to do it so that they're legally represented, but I would hope that they would continue to bring the building into compliance at the same time, not just for legal representation.
Chief, the exposure that folks have at the establishment, could you just sort of summarize a little bit so I have a sense, and I think the council would have a sense of who's in danger and whether a continuance should be given?
It does have a fire alarm system, but the fire alarm system is not a full coverage system. The dance floor area is raised and has a railing which is called a corral, which corrals the general public that are dancing in a particular area into a small compact area with only 2 minor ways of getting out. The back deck area had a problem with the stairs, which they have worked on, but the access to the back deck, which goes through a door out of the back of the barroom area, swings in the wrong direction. In other words, it swings into the room and would cause a jam up of people behind it. There is no way to notify the fire department that there actually is a problem within the establishment because of the lack of a municipally connected fire alarm box. So if there was a fire, it would take for somebody to pick up the phone and call us. The entrances going in and out of the establishment have ramps that create a trip hazard going in and out of it. There are numerous extension cords that run throughout the property that run numerous electrical appliances. Some of those that holds are over the heads of the patrons themselves inside the establishment. There were some issues with the cooktops, the ventilation system for the kitchen area with some grease accumulation, but I believe as today's inspection, some of that was taken care of. There was an issue with the extinguishing system in the kitchen that was not up to date. But my understanding as of this afternoon, that was corrected. It is required because it is a nightclub. They primarily make their greatest revenue from the sale of alcoholic beverages. It falls into the nightclub statute, which must have sprinklers. They have come forward today with a contract, but does not have a start date for a contract for the sprinklers on it. If you wouldn't mind, Madam President, I'd like to defer to Inspector Vieira to see if there's any more he'd like to add.
I would, that's fine. Inspector Vieira, please.
Good evening. Pretty much what the chief said is 100% correct. I was there this afternoon, approximately 12:30, between 12:30 and 1 o'clock. A lot of the issues that have been addressed, there still are a few outstanding issues. I was told that we're looking at approximately a 2-week time frame for the municipal fire alarm box to come in. It has been ordered. However, as anything that has been ordered, it takes time to receive it. Sprinkler system is required. Again, that is conditional, that you have to have plans drawn up. They have to be approved by the local fire department, and obviously an installation time. So I do need to have a firm date on when that's going to be done. Fire alarm system is operational as a local system. Like the chief said, it doesn't go anywhere outside the building. Someone does have to call the fire department. Once the municipal box is connected, then that will be an automatic. It'll be done automatically, and there'll be no second person intervention. There has been the hood system in the kitchen at the time that I was there was pretty deplorable, where you did have grease up in the roof itself, going down the roof tiles. That's been cleaned. Today, this afternoon, after I was there, just as I was leaving, a gentleman came in to test the suppression system in the kitchen hood. So there has been some progress, but we still need those 2 major items addressed. with a firm time date.
Thank you.
Madam President,
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question. I'm concerned about the number of people involved here, the capacities and the nightclub aspect of it. And I'm concerned about that going on even in the next 2 weeks while there's no alarm system connected. And I guess I would be suggesting either that the council perhaps suspend the entertainment license pending the continuance, not the liquor license, but the entertainment license to control the crowds. Or I wanted to ask the officer here whether perhaps the presence of a detail would be thought for sufficient. If they're going to provide entertainment, that they provide a detail officer. That way there'll be someone with a walkie-talkie able to contact the fire department immediately.
Currently, as far as the detail goes, the chief does have a detail schedule with them. There's an occupancy in that building, total with the dining hall and dance floor and the bar areas, approximately 565 people for that building. The detail itself is, as I said, is already in place, and that's something that'll be up to the chief how he wants to, if he wants to impose additional details.
Can I ask what the number that we're talking about? That sounds like, for that size building, I mean, that seems like a pretty high number. What is that number based on? Do we know in terms of, is it strictly square footage, or is it?
The occupancy load of a building is calculated on the square footage of the individual area that it's used for. For example, you have your dance floor, which calculates at 7 square feet per person. That takes nothing into account, the columns or anything of that nature. When you get into the eating portion of it, the restaurant, that calculates at 15 square feet per person. That takes into account your chair spacing, your requirements of space between chair backs, so you have clear openings and aisles. That's where the numbers come from, and then you combine them all together and it gives you your total for the building. So there's actually 2 different numbers here, one being the 15 square feet for the south end of the building, which is the dining hall, and then you have the dance floor at 7, and also the bar area at 7 square feet per person.
Given the deficiencies we're talking about here, does it make any sense to even consider something where possibly lowering that number until these issues is addressed would in any way mitigate the issues you're talking about, or are these issues so severe that even for the next 2 or 3 weeks it wouldn't be wise to continue with that license?
The conditions that can be reduced, you can reduce 20% occupancy of the building based on not having a fire alarm system and a sprinkler system. The other avenue with that is you can continue with the same occupancy load but require a firefighter detail every time there is an event. Those are your 2 options. You can reduce it by 20%, but that's also goes back to the chief's option. If he wants to put a detail on and not reduce it, he can do that.
I guess the question is just based on what you observed. I mean, is there anything that we should be so concerned with that in terms of going forward? Is there one particular issue that just makes it, not responsible to continue this license as things have been going, even until the next 2 or 3 weeks when this gets addressed, or hopefully gets addressed?
2 of those items are currently in court, and those are the 2 major issues, which is the sprinkler system and the fire alarm system. The other items are addressable items that have been corrected. So you are down to a handful of items, 2 of which are major items that, as we speak right now, I cannot say on the 2 issues that are pending in court.
Right. Thanks.
I must say, the 545 figure also, I have some of Brian's concern about the size of that, given the fact that the exits in the building were described by the fire chief as trip hazards, as I think your phrase was. I mean, there may be other issues, but
Some of the other issues that are listed, emergency lighting, emergency exit lights aren't working. Are any of those issues?
You have one that's not working.
Has that been addressed? Any of that
The
stuff?
light, the exit, it's a double section, like those lights that are there. We have the emergency light and exit sign. At the time, the whole unit did not work. Currently, the exit sign itself is operational. The light is going to be replaced. And if you have the report from myself, I'd gladly address any issues you have with the individual items.
I mean, they can correct me if I'm wrong, but no matter what happens here, if they go to put a sprinkler system in this building, it's not going to happen in 2 weeks.
No.
We're
gonna have to
not
be
talking
designed.
We're not that, we're just talking
Based on the
about-
fact, when the chief gave his report, he said that it wouldn't be a problem to continue this for 2 weeks. I then made a motion based on the chief's recommendation that this was not, he did not see this as a major issue, to continue this for 2 weeks, as long as they were continuing to work on what it was that the problems to be corrected.
I agree, Mr. Bullen. It was what we would do with any other occupancy in town, that we would give them time to bring it into compliance. These are concerns, yes, but if an establishment had come in and presented me with the same documents that I was presented with today, I would give them that time to be able to do it. We have to give some time to be able to get that work in. Are there concerns about safety? Absolutely, not a question.
That's why I made my motion, and I think that we should, if the chief is not saying there isn't going to be a problem, but he's saying he doesn't have a discomfort level, in asking us that we should dismiss a license or revoke a license until that period of time. So I think they should be allowed to continue to operate. So at least they can generate some funds to continue, to make the improvements that need to be made so they can be in compliance. I think we get it in a catch-22 when we revoke a license while someone's trying to fix a problem because we diminish their income and then tell them they got to have an expenditure. And that's my main concern, as long as this, if he comes back next week and says that this thing got put on hold, I'm going to view this in somewhat of a different light. But for now, his concerns were not so much that he's requesting we revoke that license for the 2 weeks, so I'm asking to give him the 2 weeks. They'll have counsel here, so that if we take an action, it's in presence of counsel, and I'm thinking because if they do wish to appeal that, it's not an issue if somebody wasn't here to represent them.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable position, but I also have concern that we opened up this with a statement by the chief that he's been working on this for 2 years. And the night that we have this hearing of show cause to move the license, or we get action. And I don't want that to continue for another 3 weeks. Obviously, there are risks here, and 2 years is a very long and patient time. If there was a fire, for any reason, it would be a disaster. I mean, a disaster for the town, for the council, and for the enforcement officers. You always pray that does not happen. But 2 years for me is a patient period of time. And I would hope, even if I do wonder about lowering the, do you think there's a need to lower the occupancy, Chief?
Madam President, if I remember, maybe they can, if he lowers the occupancy, does that mean they don't have to have a detail? I thought it was one or the other. If they have the detail, they can keep the occupancy. If they lower it by the 20%, does the detail go away? Let's make sure we understand that.
Excuse me, just 1 minute, man. We're trying to give you the correct answer. While they're doing that, can I ask the clerk, what's the category of this license? Because I'm hearing it's been converted from a restaurant to a nightclub, and I was wondering what is...
I don't have that.
Is this a BV? This is down as a BV license, is that correct?
Yep.
Which I think is something else that the applicant should be prepared to address when it comes up for renewal in another month.
So the operations as it's being defined as a nightclub is not what they're licensed for? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, that's... That I don't have any evidence before us, but that's
Right.
what I'm hearing, yes. So...
But that's a question that
It's
has
not
to
the
be-
subject of the show cause hearing tonight. The show cause hearing tonight is limited just to the fire stuff, but it's certainly something that I want to put the applicant on notice, and we will look into. Madam President, we were conferring, we were going through, just making sure we're giving you the correct information. Our option is one or the other. Either we drop it to 20% or we put a firefighter detail in.
Yeah.
We have put a firefighter detail in there because of that simple fact, to have a radio present. My only concern here this evening, and I'm speaking on my behalf here is that these applicants do deserve the right to have an attorney present, and I think
agree.
counsel, legal counsel, would reiterate that, and that's my only concern of taking any action against them without having representation.
I hear you, and I just, but I want to make sure that, in the meantime, this operation is not at risk, whether counsel is here at the next meeting. The issue that the solicitor has just raised underscores the fact that counsel should be here or in communication with our town solicitor prior to that time. Because if you are operating under a license and your operation is changed, obviously there's a problem there.
Mr. Kelly, I urge you, I'm going to vote to continue it for 2 weeks, but I do urge you to get as many things done as possible in those 2 weeks, and I do urge you to work with our our fire chief to get as many things done as possible and to bring your building into compliance. I think 2 years is a long time, and I know there's probably things that's been a difficult road, but believe me, I do not want to close down any businesses in this town. I really don't. But I think the safety, the health and welfare of anyone who goes into that building, it's very important. And I know it's difficult times, too. I know it's very difficult to keep a business going. Things are tough. But on the same token, we didn't make all those laws that came down, and unfortunately, there are some things that you do have to be in compliance with, and you need to do it. Okay? It's a very difficult position for us also. Please, you need to work with us. Our fire chief's been trying to work with you for 2 years now, so I think, unfortunately, you need to step up to the plate also, okay?
Madam President?
Yep.
I understand that Gareth Eames is here. He has some issues as well.
Yeah.
I think we might as well hear that now and have the applicants hear that. And I just want to point out, we're actually talking 3 weeks between now
Yes,
and the
we
next
are.
council
Okay.
meeting.
Yep.
And one of the suggestions I might have is, I understand that the municipal alarm box has been ordered, is due in 2 weeks, that might be a specific item, which certainly is a key point in safety, to have as a condition for the next meeting, so that they would know they've got 3 weeks to have that up and connected. And
Gareth?
Madam President, I had cited them on the 28th of July on 7 counts. Trip hazards in the interior of the building, uneven floor spaces, makeshift ramps, all of which are safety hazards. An open sewer line, or a couple of open sewer lines in the basement. Unsafe stairs to the basement with no guards or handrails. Structurally unsafe stairs to the second floor at the south end of the building without guards or rails. Second floor deck without guards. Stairs to the second floor deck without handrails or guards. And the decorative wagon on top of the roof inadequately secured. Since that time, I've walked through again. Some of this has been indicated to me. Some of it's been addressed. For example, the open sewer lines in the basement have been capped off and taken care of. However, that was done without a permit. So we still have an inspection issue there. I've been told that they will be taking care of the trip hazards, and the items number 5 and 6, the second floor deck and the stairs to the second floor deck, I've agreed to issue on a separate notice of violation so that they can shut those down for the winter, so that they don't have to go to that expense. They won't use that area, so that they don't have to go to that expense until next spring or summer.
Gary, can I ask you a question on that, if I can interrupt you for 1 second?
Sure.
Item number 6.
Yep.
How long has that been there?
That's a long time. Ever since I've been going down there.
That deck?
Oh, the deck? Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm looking at the stairs. It says ununiform stairs going up to the deck. The height of the rises and everything else.
Oh, yeah, yes.
How long has that been there? Since it was built?
Well, I don't know if it's been since it was built, but as long as I've been looking at it, that's been there, which is 3.5 years.
I just, you know, I sometimes look at things like that and say, like, you know, you throw everything but the kitchen sink at somebody. If a deck was built 7 years ago and the stairs were installed 7 years ago and the risers weren't all perfect 7 years ago, and now all of a sudden we go in and do an inspection and the risers aren't all equal, hey, well, what the hell, while we're here, let's slam these people for everything.
No, that's what I'm referring to.
Okay.
Situations like that, I actually have no jurisdiction over. Okay, that's prior construction, okay? But what I do have jurisdiction over are two things. Construction that happens under a permit, active permit. They did, for example, add 2 stairs to the back deck, and we had a very protracted time of getting that squared away.
Okay.
They finally brought them into compliance. But what I saw, because I was brought in by the fire department on their walkthrough, what I saw was the second category, which is obvious safety hazards.
Okay.
Which is my only other area where I have jurisdiction.
Okay.
And these 7 items are my obvious safety hazards. And they were things that I noticed then. And they're not trivial, they're not.
So even though when somebody else inspected them when they were installed, it was okay, but now that we've gone back to do a re-inspection, they're not.
Well, for example,
I'm just saying that. If someone else had taken out a permit for that,
right,
and somebody had went and inspected that and said, okay, it's fine. Okay, that's the only question I have on it.
Madam President.
They could have been all right 5 years ago, but right now they're not.
Right, and a lot of
the exact same stairs.
And a lot of this was due to lack of maintenance, Counselor. That
it doesn't have to be a lack of maintenance. It
right.
could have been the way, because stairs won't change that much.
Right.
Okay.
Mr. Kelly.
I was hoping not to have to speak tonight, but the deck we're talking about, we've never had public in that area since we've owned the building. We don't use it. The reference to an open sewer line, it was a drain for the ice machine, please. You know, we have a reputation of serving food. The open sewer line is the drain for the ice machine, okay? And I just have to say that in my defense. And as far as 500 people there, I've never had more than 150 people in that building since we've been there, for anything, except for benefit for a bartender that died of cancer. And that's how many people we get there. We have a detail. If we have over 110 people, we know there's going to be a crowd. We have a detail. We've had a detail since the first visit from the fire department. And it's not all as bad as it's being painted out to be tonight. And in my defense, I would like, Councilor Boulin has a motion for a continuance. I think, in all fairness to us, until we're prepared to defend some of these things, I would like that, maybe act on that motion.
Well, at some point we
Yes.
will, but we also have to hear from other council members.
Madam President.
And their concerns, yes.
I have serious concerns about the listing that we had in our packet from last week, and then reiterated again here by the state officials in the town's fire department. However, when we issue the license, we issue those licenses conforming to all legal requirements. And that license was issued over a couple of years ago anyway. And in that time, there are still serious infractions here that haven't been addressed. Okay, so now the municipal box has been ordered, but in 3 weeks' time, there's still a lag of time here that other infractions haven't been taken care of. I don't know the extent of what extension cords around someone's head means, but does that mean that extension cords are like hanging from the ceiling, that people could get entangled with?
You can't use them. You can't use them. Everything, nothing can run off an extension cord.
So those, to me, are very simple remedies that could have been taken care of long before, even before we granted your license. And I have to confirm that, you know, I'm not one to close businesses down in the town. We thrive on businesses and we encourage them. But when we license, on the Board of Licenses, that's what we do. We license conforming to all legal requirements, and these are all legal requirements. And in 2 years' time, some of these that are not very dire, of course, I know what a fire alarm box does, I know what sprinklers do, and I know that takes a lot of money and time. And I can't see how you could raise, I don't know how much that might cost, a sprinkler system and a municipal fire alarm box. But I don't know if 3 weeks' time would raise enough money in order to remedy that situation. So I have serious concerns about even delaying this for 3 more weeks. Thank you.
Okay. Are you passing around pictures for our...
Mrs. Aruda had asked questions about what the extension cords look like. Those are pictures of that.
If I could, I'd just like to say, I mean, to echo what Paul and Joanna said, the last thing I think anybody sitting here is looking to do is to give a hard time to a local business, to shut down a local business or anything like that. Probably the one thing we want to do less than that is to have to explain afterwards if there is a disaster. If you ever, anytime there's ever been a fire in a building, there's been loss of life, they go and they do an investigation and they found somebody did an inspection and said, well, I don't want to shut them down for that. It's just a door turning the wrong way, and that's the door people couldn't get out. I don't think any of us want to be in that position on any business or any public building, to be in that position after the fact to say, well, we were just trying to be pro-business and we were trying not to come down too hard on them. This has been 2 years. Based on what the chief has said, I don't have a problem giving the continuation for the 3 weeks, based on the fact there will be a detail there when this is in effect, Chief, as I understand it. I don't have a problem going to the 3 weeks. After the 3 weeks, I will not be comfortable giving an extension beyond that unless these major things, there may be some minor ones that will take a little while, but unless these major ones are addressed to the full ability that we can have some comfort that that is a safe place for people to congregate, I won't be comfortable extending it beyond that, and I just wanted to make you aware of that.
Madam President, if I just, one last thing, I know we've beat this kind of to death, and I don't wish to drag it on, and I certainly don't want anybody to think that I'm saying that everything is 100% safe, because I'm not. Do I have concerns? Absolutely, Madam President, I do. But I do think these people deserve their legal rights, and that is my overwhelming concern. I am concerned about the safety of the patrons in that building, but having to follow the due process of law for these people to be able to defend themselves legally against my accusations, because they are my accusations, that I don't want to put us in a bad situation by pushing it further than that, and I do want to give them due recourse.
I have one question. How many times have you had a detail? How often do the events occur? And how often do you have a detail?
There was a bikini contest this last weekend that we were there. I think we had 3 last weekend. It's at least 2 to 3 every week are down there.
And you have a detail there?
Once a week, at least once a week, yeah. Every Friday night, definitely there is one. It's not every night of the week that they're open, no, Madam President.
Well, we do have a motion on the table. We have various views expressed.
I just want to add one more thing, Mr. Kelly. I did say that I asked that you worked with the fire chief. I also asked that you work with the building official. You know, even though I did question him on the stairs, you know, there's several issues that need to be addressed on the building side also, and you need to work with the building official also. Okay? Thank you.
Motion has been made and seconded to continue. I will also add my comments before I vote, and that is, I may vote to continue, but I will never continue again beyond that date. I'm where Brian is on this. 2 years is plenty long time not to put your customers at risk. So, all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand, please. All those opposed to the motion? Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Inspector from the state. Okay, Town Clerk, we need to schedule interviews for a special meeting on October 6th.
Madam President, at the last meeting, we had discussed an October 6th for a special meeting. There is a zoning board meeting that night, I have to mention, so we would be meeting at the community center unless you opt to go with the September 29th.
Yeah, I was gonna say, could we go meet on September 29th?
Right, that is the 5th Monday this month. We had a few things that we were trying to get timing in, that's why
You
Mr.
gotta
Carroll
put
had
that one away.
suggested October 6th.
No, we just,
I know Mr. Tights cannot make September 29th.
let's
but
just to do interviews, right?
Just interviews and
appointments.
appointments. It'll be a
And
special
appointment.
meeting with,
Are you going to notify the people that we're having this meeting so they can be there?
yes.
Now, wait a minute, you say a meeting to interview.
It was
I can't make it
scheduled
on
for
the
a
6th.
special meeting on the 6th. If you
All right.
change it to the 29th,
To the
that's
29th.
your prerogative. I'm just,
Could we make it the 6th? I have a problem on next Monday night.
For
Keep
what
it
it's
on the
worth, the
6th.
29th
Okay.
is the Jewish holiday of Rosh Hashanah. I don't know if you have any of your applicants who'd be celebrating it or not, but that's what's Monday night, the
Yeah.
29th.
okay. So if you choose to keep it on the 6th, that's,
It's fine with me, 6th.
Could we-
6th works for me.
Can you live with the 6th? Okay.
Can I ask, as far as the interviews, did we ever advertise, I know that with the planning board, did we ever advertise that?
the intent when we left the last meeting was we didn't have enough candidates. I now have 6 that
Yeah.
I've distributed and others that have called, so.
Right, but I mean, I'd be more comfortable if, even if we just keep the date as the 6th, but if we just open it up so that people don't feel like they were excluded. If anybody else wants to apply, at least they'll have until the 6th to
Okay.
apply. We'll interview them that night if they're interested, but I would at least,
Okay, I'll get an
Allow
ad
that
in
it be
tomorrow's
open.
paper.
Are we gonna plan to appoint that night as well?
Well,
You
we're
tell
gonna
me.
leave that option open to us. I think if we're gonna have a special meeting, the agenda should say interviews and possible appointments.
Okay,
I mean, I don't think we wanna delay the,
right.
certain appointments beyond that 6.
Okay, so,
Do you want to begin at 7, though, handle the interviews, and begin at 7, don't begin early? Okay.
okay. Yes,
you need, I'll make the motion that we hold a special meeting on October 6th with the,
Have
Second.
that.
all those in
And then we're
fa-
going to notify the candidates.
That's
to come that
standard, we
night.
notify
Okay.
them all the time.
Yep.
But I already have the 6 from Mr. Carroll's motion last week, so I already have it.
Oh, you already have it.
Right.
All right, so we don't need a motion. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
yeah.
My motion, I had a motion last week that we appoint, my motion last week was to continue the appointment of the, continue the appointment of the administrative officer to this week.
You missed the portion of the meeting when the town clerk said we would appoint all the planning at the same time.
Because of the special meeting, I thought we were just going to move everything, including
I
these
think-
interviews.
Did you accept,
So-
before I got here this evening, did you accept the minutes of our last meeting?
We did.
Yes. Well, according to the minutes of our last meeting, I believe I made a motion.
Yep, and we got an explanation as to why it wasn't on the agenda.
Well, we made, but
It's in the minutes.
It's in the minutes
It
that-
is in the minutes, but when we got 6 candidates all at once, I thought we would just move and do everything all together. That's
but-
why
but
it's
the
not on
council-
here.
But the council voted,
Well, it's not on, Paul, I can't make it be on.
well, the council voted, and that item should have been placed on the agenda, Nancy.
Yes, it was a judgment call.
Well, in the future, when the council votes to place something on the agenda, that should have been on the agenda.
Fine.
No one has the authority to take something off the agenda. If that would have come before us, then we could vote to move it off. I was prepared to make that appointment this evening, the
Okay.
administrative officer to the planning board.
Well,
That's
unfortunately,
right, that's been
yeah.
continued since August 25th.
I brought it up earlier, Paul, and Nancy explained it.
Unfortunately, I'm sorry I had to work and get here a few minutes late, but that should have been on this agenda for this evening.
Okay, we'll duly note it
Okay.
and move on.
Records.
Town Administrator, report of the Economic Development Commission.
I'd like to, excuse me, I'd like to ask Len Schmidt, the chairperson of Economic Development, to step up and give us a report, please.
Good evening, Len Schmidt, 9 South Court. This is a report, the first report of the Economic Development Commission to the council. I believe you all have copies of this. The Economic Development Commission is now at its full strength of 5 appointed members, thanks to the council for the recent appointment of Scott Humphrey. Others are also stepping forward to indicate interest, support, and a willingness to lend assistance in furthering economic development in Tiverton. The commission has been actively meeting since January of 2008 and has thus far been in discovery mode, gathering information such as defining community assets, current issues, obstacles to economic development, and some of these include the following: assets, general recognition by residents and officials of the need for economic development as a means of improving the Tiverton tax base. Four Corners Association is an operating association of owners and entrepreneurs actively promoting an improvement of the infrastructure in this historic area to promote a visitor-friendly environment. Other town organizations are also engaged in community projects and enhancement. The Tiverton Industrial Park is sitting there and has a major developmental potential. Bourne Mill is a work in progress, community and a community business opportunity. Sandywood Farm, potential for the establishment of new businesses. Main Road, State Line to Stone Bridge. Lots of idle and undeveloped areas waiting to be developed. Federal and state support, enterprise zone status, RIEDC, Rhode Island EDC, economic growth plan, grants, a lot of interest on the part of the Newport County Chamber of Commerce and the Rhode Island EDC to give us assistance, and we'll be talking more about that later. Issues and obstacles to economic development. Obviously, demographics get a little tough because we're a long, slender piece of turf here along this beautiful river. And we have lots of infrastructure issues: sewers, roads, sidewalks, beautification needs. And we have need for investment in the industrial park, planning and infrastructure. Competition from nearby Massachusetts businesses and tax structure. Local and state, DOT, CRMC, etc., regulation, zoning, permitting requirements, and always the availability of funding. EDC has identified initiatives and has begun to address the following. Initiatives and priorities: creating community awareness of the EDC activities and potential, immediate participation and support for the development of the Bourne Mill and Main Road development, including the RI Department of Transportation Improvement Plan for 2009, which essentially is a paving plan for Main Road, and emphasis on the development of the industrial park and efforts to attract new business. Lots of needs. We're putting together at this point a proposal for an operating budget for FY 2010. This is to get us started with some advertising, correspondence, public meetings, administrative assistance, that sort of thing. It's not going to be $100,000, by the way. Strong coordination with the Newport County Chamber of Commerce, Rhode Island Economic Development Commission, Town Council, departments and commission. EDC inclusion in related community programs such as Stonebridge Library, the TIP plan for Main Road, recreation departments, and so forth. And finally, development of Tiverton business development of a Tiverton business development incentive policy and program. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions if you have any, but this is a start.
Let me congratulate you
Excellent.
for putting forward a report to the town council with regard to what you have been doing, because I know you've been busy, and sometimes very quietly. So
That was good.
quiet is good. We just want to congratulate you, really, for putting this together so that we're informed. We hear pieces, but I'm delighted to see this.
Thank you.
I have one question, Mr.
Yes.
Smith. When you said the operating budget for FY '10, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said that figure.
Fiscal year 2010, getting a rudimentary budget together for the Economic Development Commission, pay postage, maybe put out some flyers, that sort of thing.
Did you attach a number to that? I didn't quite hear.
No, I didn't do that.
Okay.
The point is, we're getting something
Oh,
together
less
as we
than
speak.
100,000, okay.
I'm just giving you a heads up.
Okay. Yeah, just
Actually,
wanted to-
that is essential to get some work done.
Yep.
I know that the town administrator had said not so long ago that it would be ideal to have a brochure, he's probably said this to you, done about the attributes of Tiverton, its industrial park, et cetera. And that does require some budget. The enterprise zone.
Yes.
If you just walk around and say, what does the enterprise zone do? It's probably not 10 people in the town who say, well, that has these benefits. But it'd be nice to have a little brochure as to where we are.
Well, that's the intent. There's a lot to talk about. It's a question of getting it together.
Yeah.
Thank you. You
Thank
and your
you.
committee, Len, thank you. You and your committee did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for coming. Now, next item is is it Mr. Maderas? Mr. Maderas.
We've been working on coming up with a voter guide for the charter amendments and determining how exactly we're going to, whether we make copies for every household and mail them, and looking into costs. I know Nancy's been looking into some of the costs on those, so we have some options to choose from. The guide that you have in front of you is something that Laura Epke and I and Nancy all worked on to try to put something together based on what we approved at the meeting for the questions. And this is to keep it as brief as possible, to keep the cost down while containing most of the basic information, which is the ballot question as it'll appear, the basic reason that was expressed at the meeting where we approved these for the change, and then what the effect of that change will be. And it comes down to 4 pages, so whatever pamphlet we're looking to do, we could get done in a 4-page handout, which keeps the cost down considerably. We'll also have the full text of all the changes available online or here at Town Hall if people want to get those. If they want that further information, that will be available as well.
2 pages.
2 pages, 2 sides, yeah, that's exactly it, to keep the cost. And it's really just a single sheet, 2 8.5 by 11s together, both sides, something that can be folded and either mailed if that's the way we choose to go. The costs overall, Nancy, do you have the added up costs of them?
If we go with the mailing,
Right, for a 4-page, you had some numbers, and they were talking about per unit.
if we're going to, yes, one of the options was to mail, actually, what we'd be mailing is the same pages, but it would be a folded, it would be like this letter size. If we went with a mailing, they have the listing, they take out all the duplicate, it'd be 1 per voter household, which is actually 6,619 right now. We would have to give them to them already printed, which would be from Paul, I just got the quote from Paul's Press. And that's gonna approximately cost us $3,500 if we were to mail one out to every voter household.
And that's what, I'm sorry. go ahead.
Printing and the
That's the
fulfillment.
printing and the mailing, everything. That would be that complete cost.
3,500?
Within $100, one way or another, depending, $3,500.
And that's what's been done in the past.
That's what's been done in the past, and that assures that it gets to every voting resident. Right.
Excuse me,
And
could I
then-
interrupt for a minute? With the owner of MZ466, which is a white 4x4 Kia, see the...
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm going to tell you, I just found the rest of those.
Okay, thank you, sorry.
So it looks like Denise.
No, it wasn't.
Okay, very good. I'm sorry, Nancy.
Okay, so that would take care of it if we were to mail them out to every voting household. And then I called Secana Times today, and they had 2 options. If you put it as a full-page ad, we would provide the print, they would do the layout. That was $968. If you wanted it ran more than once or whatever, but it's $968 each time. Or they could do it as an insert, which essentially they would insert whatever we prepared and printed. The issue with that is they have approximately 2,700 deliveries, and they can't guarantee every one because it's done by machine and this, that, and the other, and some.
But that doesn't come
They
from people
can't
who
guarantee
buy
you
it.
they're voting, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
obviously,
It's just
that's
so
their
that-
deliveries
That's
to
a mass.
Tiverton.
Yep.
We could, if we did opt to do that, we could, of course, also make extra copies. I certainly can put them at the library or the senior center here, but I have to tell you, I do that with the dockets, and they never move, but
Well, this
Yeah.
might, you know.
You end up with cases of them left
I-
over.
yes.
What was the
I
cost for the
usually
insert?
discuss-
310.
The
310.
insert is 310
Oh,
for the newspaper, plus,
Oh.
I would say approximately $500 or $600 to get them printed up.
Of course, the
If we
safest,
kept, yeah.
to make sure we get it to everybody, is 3,500.
Is really the mailing an issue if you're gonna, I mean, if that's a primary issue in the town, for the financial town meeting issue. So, and then Brian and Laura we will proof it to the questions that are actually on the ballot, and then to make sure it's the same wording on the ballot.
do we want to get approval from the council on the text? I mean, if people are comfortable doing it tonight, or
On
we
the
could
basic
continue it till the 6th, if people want
Well-
a chance to look it over. But it's basically based on what was presented that night at the public hearing.
Because if it is an insert through the Seconic Times, they're only gonna allow us certain weeks, or even on the ad, because they don't allow the week before the election, because there's so much with campaign advertising.
Let's see, that's the 6th.
I know finances was a question last week, and my hope is that we're watching all the pennies in the election account, and if there's any monies left, we would certainly put it towards that. But I would need to know that the council was prepared to pay in case there was not money left in election account.
Do we, you know, one problem is not having our monthly budget reports is this kind of issue. How much is in our contingency?
At this point, there was pretty near $30,000. There's only been a few $100s spent out of the
On
contingency.
videoing of the. I'd like to say, I'm pretty sure I'll have some money there, but I can't guarantee.
You know, or is your charter change of this magnitude? I think it has to go to everybody.
I think it should.
And beg, borrow, and steal, but I think if you can squeak some money out of that election account.
I'll have to pay it first through council contingency and reimburse you if I have any money left in there.
Okay.
Because the election's not till November, so I can't tell you. It'll be a new council, I don't wanna,
That's right, the new council will say, what are you doing spending this money?
that's why I'm gonna get that confirmation on the money.
So, folks, how do you feel?
I'd prefer to go with the 3,500 and send it out to all the
I
households.
think it should. I think, you know,
That'd be my
especially-
preference.
That would be my preference.
So, could we have a motion to that effect?
I make a motion that we spend the $3,500 and send it out to each of the voter households.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Wait,
Well,
Whoa,
discussion.
whoa, whoa.
I think the motion should include where the money comes from. and that
From the
the
town
funds for
council
it come
contingency.
It'll come
Town
from,
council
initially
contingency
from the town
to
council
be-
contingency.
To be reimbursed by any monies remaining from the elections.
Motion's been made and seconded, that's a good, and any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Okay,
Madam President, I just wanted to mention one item on the language, just because it seems, question 5, the third paragraph, effective change, looks like it's pretty much the language from the question. The rest of them, it's all pretty much put in plain English, and that one looks like it's still the language left over from the question, no money shall be taken, withdrawn, or obligated. It struck me as kind of sticking out a little bit, that it needed to be put in a little bit more, a little plainer, simpler English than,
okay.
Why don't you give it a shot and correct it?
okay?
Well,
I reviewed the rest of it, I didn't have anything concerns, but that one just, and I don't think there's anything wrong legally with it. It just seemed to stick out as being the language from the question rather than the effective change.
Okay. I know, I hear you.
And I'm sure, you know, with all these, it's hard to keep track of where they all went, but.
So
just-
you're going to take your
Sure.
hand at putting that into,
I will do that, I guess, and
okay.
send it to Councilman Dearest, I guess.
Just so go straight to Nancy.
I'll send it to the clerk. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Maderas, moving on to the wind power.
Just continuing, just looking for an update from Spencer on where things stand. If anything is, any new information you have, particularly in terms of the private development, possibly having somebody come
Yeah, I do.
make a presentation to us.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the council. As you recall, last time I spoke to you, we did talk about the two different models, one being the public, one being the private. And again, the private model, I think, is where we were focusing, and that was where the developer, or in this case, whoever puts up this tower, would assume all the risks, and the town would get a benefit, and the benefit typically is going to be a reduction in electricity costs across all town utilities. And usually what they do is they'll lock you into a certain rate for 10 to 20 years. So I did speak with Bill Fisher of Alco Renewable Energy. We met on September 10th, and we were trying to get him locked into one of these meetings, and unfortunately they were not available for tonight or I think the meeting on the 14th. So I talked about the 29th or the 6th, but it sounds like the 29th is not a meeting that's going to happen, and the 6th sounds like it's just a meeting for appointments.
Well,
So,
I mean, if that's the only night that he can do and you could schedule, I wouldn't have a problem adding
Yeah.
that to that evening.
yeah, he said that he and a couple of the vice presidents of the company would be willing to come in and have some literature that I can give you for tonight, and then we can schedule them and I can do a presentation, so.
For the 6th?
For the 6th?
You know, we have a number of interviews, so that oftentimes you don't want to hold these people until, I don't know how many we will have, but a few.
Well, we have at least
We have 6 right
Yeah,
now.
we have
Yeah.
Yeah, a
7.
couple other committees, so it'll be about eight or so,
Yeah, so,
8 or 9.
We could do the presentation first, allot a half hour for the wind power presentation, and do the interviews immediately after.
7:30.
Yeah, I mean, would there be any point in having people come at 6:30?
For the presentation?
Well, yes, for the presentation.
Yeah, if
I
everyone
mean, I
can do
don't know,
6:30.
I know that presses some
6:30 is
folks.
tough. I mean,
Suppose we had a presentation at 6:30 and then, oh, wait a minute.
6:30 is
I'm
tough.
not objecting to it, I'm not interrupting. I'm not the only one though, but I
Yeah.
think Jay's saying he's got a problem with the 6:30
Well,
time.
well, so.
I can do it rarely.
So why don't we do 7 o'clock to 7:30 the presentation, and we'll do the interviews at 7:30?
Yeah, that works.
Why don't we do that so we
Motion
accommodate
to
everyone?
add the wind power presentation to the special meeting of the 6th.
Second.
All those in favor? Raise your right hand. Motion carries.
Okay, just for the record, I won't be available that meeting, but I will have them come in. I've got to be at the zoning meeting that night, so.
Thanks.
Okay.
Now, that zoning meeting is going to be here, so we will be meeting at the community center
Yes.
on October 6th. Everyone's aware of that.
Community center.
Okay.
I'd like to get it video.
Okay, moving on. Next item.
Thank you.
Mr. Carroll.
Thank you, Madam President. It's been requested by friends and co-workers of Jerry Ledoux since his passing, unfortunately, on August 3rd. It's been brought to my attention that it's customary that you dedicate a fire station, if possible, in their memory. And Jerry, being a long, 24-year member of our Tiverton Fire Department, Jerry started his career at the Stonebridge Fire Station, which the town of Tiverton sold many years ago, and spent the latter part of his career at Station 4, which is down on East Road. And when this was brought to my attention, and some of the members of the fire department asked me, and his friends asked me how I felt about it, I thought it would be, I think Jerry would be very humble that if we dedicated that station to his memory. So therefore, I placed it on the agenda to put before this council, and I make a motion that we dedicate that Station 4 to the memory of Gerald R. Ledoux. I know that a foundation's being formed, and I know at a later date that we could probably do a more formal dedication, but before we go anywhere, we need the council's permission to dedicate it. So therefore, I do make a motion that we dedicate Station 4 in memory of Gerald R. Ledoux.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand, please.
Thank you very
Motion
much.
carries.
And once we do formalize something in the future, we'll make sure everyone's aware of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Edwards.
Thank you, Madam President. About a month ago, I gave everyone a copy of the Rhode Island Resource Recovery Contract. I'm sure none of you have it currently. But that contract deals with Tiverton as if we were a town giving all of our solid waste to the Rhode Island Resource Recovery. We have put out feelers for alternative pricing on handling our recycling. They have not been as favorable as I had expected. In light of that, I would recommend to the council that we continue sending our recycling to Rhode Island Resource Recovery because there are advantages. We can send our mattresses there at a cut rate. We can send our tires and other undesirable items to the Rhode Island Resource Recovery at a cut rate. If we do not have a contract with them, we cannot send those items there. And we will continue to just receive like $25 a ton. I would like to be able to amend the contract and then give my markups to the solicitor for his review and then have the council review it and vote on it.
Will the revised contract acknowledge the fact that we aren't sending trash there?
I would mark it up accordingly.
Good.
Yep, so it's acknowledged.
And when you do, we're going to make you an assistant town solicitor?
No, but I mark up contracts all the time, so I just make my markups to him.
You know, I'm serious. Assistant town solicitor, representative.
No.
Free of charge.
You don't want to get paid though, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't
I'll be the
think we need
cheapest
a
one you'll
vote
ever
on
have.
that. It's just a
No,
report.
I just wanted to bring it to you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Okay, we have a request from the town administrator to remove parcel,
To remove parcel 130-27 from the tax sale schedule for December 5th, 2008 for delinquent taxes. This property is in litigation as to ownership, and the party currently living at the property who is trying to prove his ownership is making payments on the taxes on a monthly basis. It's still behind, but until this gets settled, I think we need to give this resident a break and not sell the property.
okay?
Do we normally have a tax sale on delinquent property only 2 years? I thought it was 3 years delinquency before it went to a tax sale.
We usually try after 2 years.
So,
Oh, okay. No, I want, I've
Andy,
seen
have
that.
you looked at this? Are you aware of this?
I haven't looked at all the details. I have discussed it, and I think it's a reasonable
Yeah.
impact where
Certainly,
someone's
somebody's
living
paying,
there
they're
and
trying
paying.
to
I mean, it's a discretionary action on your part.
I think if somebody's trying to keep their property and trying to figure out the legal ownership of it, I don't think we should be forced on a tax sale if they're still trying to figure out the legal ownership of it.
So I
I'll make a
wanted to-
motion.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made to remove the parcel from the tax sale. All those in favor of that motion, raise your right hand, please. Motion carries unanimously. Town administrator?
Request permission to advertise for 2 police cruisers. The police cruisers, as you well know, are an annual purchase, and it will be quite some time before they are received. And as indicated in the attachment to the agenda request, we need to replace 2 of the vehicles, and we will be taking 2 of the marked vehicles offline and reassigning them.
And Jim, just to clarify, this is not an additional request for money. This is money that was appropriated at the financial town meeting for this
Yes.
purpose?
Yes.
Thanks.
And if they are replaced, that maybe some of the older vehicles will be disposed of, and
They'll be handed down, and we will not be adding any vehicles to our fleet.
I understand, but we are adding 2.
We're getting rid of 2.
We're getting
Ultimately, we're
2.
getting rid of 2 in the end.
Yes,
Okay, that's my question.
yes, we will not be adding any vehicles to the
Right.
town's fleet.
But the 2 that will be replaced are replacing existing vehicles, and we're not stockpiling them. That's what my question.
No, we're
They may
not.
be used by a department to replace something that's even older. or
Even
more.
older.
Right.
We're
but it's the-
replacing two
Yeah, we're
frontline
replacing 2.
vehicles, and by the time it filters down to everyone else, two junkers are
Gonna
going.
go.
That was my question. The second tier goes.
Right. We will be
Okay.
having an excess sale later in the fall.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion that we advertise to go out to bid for the 2 new police cruisers.
I'll second it.
All those in favor, raise your right hand, please.
Thank you. Point of clarification, could I, instead of advertising, it's possible to go off of existing state bid?
Yes, that
Comparable
was your
state bid?
request.
Yes, that
Okay.
was your request.
Just to save the,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
Hey, I thought we're going to go to bid, or we're just going to buy from the state list? Because should we see which comes out cheaper?
We should, and I assume that that's what you will do,
I will.
Oh, okay.
and report to us as to what is the cheaper one.
Okay, if it is cheaper, I would prefer to obviously save the advertising monies, that's what I'm,
Well, my point is, you don't know until you advertise whether the state bid list is cheaper.
okay, I could,
Well, you know,
But you-
it's kind of a catch-22.
Mhm.
You know, if you bid it, it comes in cheaper than, it comes in more expensive. You don't know. If you just take their list, the bid list, you
okay,
know,
I'll,
I would think that the state bid list went out a long time ago when car sales were probably a little more favorable. Car sales, you know,
Sure.
it tanked in the last 6 months, and therefore, I think the bid list, you know, bidding them may come out cheaper than the state bid list.
actually, I've actually contacted the state to ascertain their bid list or what they've been able to do. The state right now has not gone out to bid. That's the number of cars they're purchasing, so we're trying to find out exactly where they
Okay.
stand.
Okay,
Do you want to come back to us?
No, I could.
You can do it either way.
Yeah.
I'll
He's
take
going to
care
do,
of-
the cheaper of the two, I think, is what the motion allowed.
I will be frugal. Thank you.
okay. Now, Mr. Administrator,
The first thing I'd like to read is a letter that was received from the International Association of Firefighters. It says firefighter Gerald R. Ledoux, who died in the line of duty on August the 3rd, 2008, was a member of the Tiverton Fire Department in your community. He sacrificed his life in the act of courage, humanitarianism, and selfless devotion to duty. We want you to know that the loss suffered by your membership in the community is shared by the 290,000 members of the International Association of Firefighters. We join you in the conveying our sincere condolences to the family of firefighter Ledoux.
And that was from?
That was from the president of the International.
Harold Shakeberger.
Yeah, I really didn't want to pronounce his last name.
That's why I asked.
Further announcements.
Thank you, it was very nice.
From October the 6th to October the 9th, the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health will be conducting investigations into the death of firefighter Ledoux. Another one, October the 8th, which is a Wednesday, 7 p.m. here in the Town Hall. There will be another revaluation seminar. It will be approximately 90 minutes long, and there will be questions and answers. We urge that all the citizens who own property attempt to attend. Also, in the area of revaluation, a certified revaluation company will be mailing out letters to all of the residents who have recently purchased their homes, informing them that a company representative will be visiting their property soon. The reason for the inspection is to verify the accuracy of the assessment data and the terms of sale. These visits are for 2008 sales only.
There won't be many.
No, it'll be fast. E-waste disposal. Starting September the 30th, 2008, Tiverton residents will be able to drop off e-waste at the Tiverton landfill free of charge whenever the landfill is open. It will be segregated. The items include most computer-related items, in addition to cell phones, telephones, and there'll be no charge, and they'll be able to dispose of them, and we will separate them as they come into the landfill.
TVs?
No, TVs are a charge.
TVs are next. Okay. There will be no TVs allowed into the landfill beginning tomorrow. What's going to happen is on November the 1st, the DPW facility will be accepting all TVs, but there is a charge. It's a pass-through charge. The town is not really charging this. This will be the recycler. For TVs under 13 inches, there will be a $5 recycling fee. Over 13 inches, $10. Consoles, $20. At that point, we will be scheduling regular drop-offs at the DPW until there is no longer a need. But the schedule for those drop-offs is yet to be determined. But the first one is November 1st. The senior center received a grant of $5,483. It's a state grant. It was for the part-time office clerk. We should note that that was a 50% reduction from previous grants. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Council, questions, comments? I know I asked this question before, but the monthly reports from the treasurer's office, what is our projected date of receipt?
We have someone from the software company coming tomorrow to work out the bugs so that we can get all of the data in. And if it is not completed tomorrow, then he will return on Thursday. We're really pushing to debug the system so that we can, I think we'd all be interested in reports.
So you're anticipating a data receipt either Wednesday or Friday?
No, we're anticipating the representative from the software company to come and work some of the bugs that we have found out of the system.
It may not take a day.
Okay, but coming back to
Yeah.
Madam President's question, when would you give us an anticipated date?
I would hope that next week we'd be able to have something.
Okay.
Whether there are still bugs or not.
Debugged.
Bugged or not debugged.
Yeah.
Okay. Town Solicitor.
You have a couple items in front of you. K1 is a copy of the ordinance establishing a building code board of appeals. As you recall, we had asked permission to advertise it at the last meeting so we'd meet the time limits. This will be up for a public hearing on October 14th, but I wanted you to have a copy of it. Basically, the language is from the state building code. They provide all these things. I just reformatted it and changed a few of the things to make it more readable, but other than that, the procedure is all set out in state law and have set forth locally. But I wanted you to have a copy of that. The second item, we're obviously trying, as we're coming to the end of a council term, whatnot, trying to wrap up some loose ends here with various ordinances and combine the advertising. And again, because of the timing, if we wait till October 14th, it'll be too late to advertise for ordinance amendments for October 27th. So we're asking that you allow advertising for a public hearing on October 27th for the following. an ordinance establishing the entertainment license, not so much establishing it, but detailing what's required for it and putting some more detailed requirements, which we've been working on for a while, constantly getting moved down the priority list. Streets and sidewalks regarding, some minor changes regarding curb cuts that the Director of Public Works had wanted. And junk dealers and junkyards is tightening up on some requirements concerning information, VIN numbers, and so forth for scrap materials with junk dealers and junkyards. There's a real outbreak of stolen auto parts for the scrap value, particularly catalytic converters, which I myself was the victim of someone trying to do. And then finally, we have the resolution. As you recall, you passed an ordinance allowing fees to be amended by resolution. That does not require the 21 days. It just requires a notice of public hearing, but we put it through the same thing. And again, we'll have copies of all this for you at the October 14th meeting, but we wanted your approval so we could get the advertising going ahead of time, and that would include the fees. What we have is all the fees now, and any recommendations that have come for the different department heads as far as changes to those fees.
Okay. We're alerted. All those, I mean, I need a motion to...
Motion to schedule a public hearing for October 27th on the topics listed.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand, please. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, we come to our executive session.
Madam President, I move to enter into executive session under 42465A2 litigation.
Second.
All those in favor of that motion, raise your right hand, please.
And to continue an executive session under 42465A5, possible acquisition or disposition of town-owned property.
Second.
All those in favor of that motion, raise your hand.
And further remain
Actually,
under 42465A6, prospective business.
Object to which one?
On that one, we were told we were going to have some information on this particular issue.
We have no, we only have information on one thing that was emailed to us. That's the only thing we have information on.
On the item number 2?
Yeah.
Okay, so, wait a minute, there was a motion, a second, and
One
the
objection.
vote was one objection.
Okay.
Oh, you guys moved way too fast on that one.
And to further remain in executive
Shoot a
session
flare.
under 42465A6, prospective business.
Second.
All those in favor of that motion, raise your right hand. Motion carries.
Gotta be quicker than that.
Yeah. Okay, we're in
Find
executive.
out you don't want to do it with this.
I don't shriek. There's a lot of things I do, but shrieking is not one of them.
That's all right.
Listen, if we're going to have...
Really, and you're gonna be at the State House.
My daughter does it for me.
How are you gonna make it through the State House? Shrieking will be required.
No